Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, lovely people. This is Marie Alessi with yet another Up Spiral Grief interview. And today I have the honor of talking to somebody who knows exactly what I am doing here, because Herb is, I'm going to get you to tell your own story, but Herb is just phenomenal in the space that he has created for widowers. But before we go too fast ahead of the story, Herb, would you do me the honor and introduce yourself to our audience, please? Welcome.
Well, certainly. My name is Herb Knoll, and I reside in Central Florida, USA. And I'm from Buffalo. I'm the only person I know that almost went over Niagara Falls in a canoe when I was 12 years old, and I never had the courage to tell my parents. Ever. But
that's
yes,
so scary.
I had to be rescued by a special boat. Yeah. And I was married to a lady by the name of Michelle, and she passed away in 2008. I was a banker and pretty senior officer of banks. And I was in my office 4 months after she passed at the age of 52 of pancreatic cancer. Mm. And a lady on my staff walked into my office and said, "The entire floor misses your laughter." Mm. And that was the first time it really hit me that I wasn't in a good place following my loss. So I went out, and I was destined to find some help with my grief. And I went to my church, and I went to the Veterans Administration of the United States, because I'm a disabled veteran. My hearing is somewhat lost, or all lost. And I went to Barnes & Noble bookstore. Mm-hmm. And I asked the gentleman at Barnes & Noble, "What do you have for a new widower?" Well, he looked on his search engine, and then he looked up at me and he said, "Mister, I don't have a thing for you." Mm. And I thought, how could that be? I mean, nothing? Yeah. And I had been published in the past. Mm. And I thought, well, somebody better write the book, mm-hmm. and it might as well be me. So shortly thereafter, I left my 38-year career. Wow. And rededicated my life to helping widowed men around the world. Mm-hmm. That was 2008. I'm still doing it today. Yeah. I found 40 people, widowers, who agreed to let me write their stories, mm-hmm. and follow them for 8 years. Because most authors only take a look at the short term, yeah. 1 or 2 years. I wanted to know what becomes of these widowers long term. Yeah. And then I released my book in 2007. Mm-hmm. I like to share a story inside the story, if you don't mm-hmm. mind.
No, of course, please.
But my 40 subjects kept on telling me, "Are you ever going to publish this book?" Because I took so long, 8 years. Mm-hmm. And I was ready to quit. I was ready to walk away from the book. Mm-hmm. And I was in church one day, and I'm a man of faith. Mm-hmm. And I said, "God, if you want this book, you're going to have to send me a sign, because I'm ready to walk."
I love it.
Well, the pastor got up and gave a homily that was custom made for my ears to hear. Wow. So I walked out of the church and I looked up at the sky and I said, "All right, you're going to get your book."
Oh, that's incredible.
And 6 months later, it was released.
Wow.
It has been a smash hit. It still earns 4.5 stars out of 5 on Amazon. And it has all sorts of endorsements from people. So here's the book.
The
And it's
Widower's Journey.
the
Yeah.
Widower's Journey. And I'm very, very proud of it. It's still selling, and it was released 5 years ago. So then I said, well, what's next? So I created a website, and that is where I sort of funnel all my intellectual properties, articles. I wrote a song. I
Mm.
wrote a song,
I
and
didn't
it's
know
a
that.
beautiful song. And I had 3 singer-songwriters from Nashville look at my original lyrics,
Mhm.
then they produced the song. And
Wow.
it's called, and let me tell you about it, if I may.
Of course.
When I was first widowed, I thought, if I ever marry again, I'll most likely will marry a widower or a widow
Mm.
because of my age bracket.
Mm.
So I wrote a song called Love You Different.
Mm.
And the storyline is, I know that you loved him, and you're afraid to love me, but I will love you different. I know what it's like because I lost my angel too.
Mm.
But I'm sure that they will say it's okay, and I will love you different. And it's on my website.
Mm.
Storyboard, video, it's absolutely breathtaking.
Mhm.
So I produced a website, and then I created a Facebook page.
Mhm.
Well, the problem is I attracted women. I
Mm.
didn't attract men. Well,
Yeah.
my mission is men,
Yeah.
and that's what makes me unique.
Mhm.
So I created a second Facebook page, and the second page is for men only,
Yeah.
widowed men only.
Mhm.
And I have 2,100 widowers from 38 countries that
Yeah.
I support with content every single day of the year.
That
We
is so
we
beautiful.
talk we
Mm.
talk money on Mondays, with their health on Wednesdays,
Mhm.
handyman's corner on Saturday.
Oh, I love it.
We teach them how to cook on Sunday,
Mhm.
Sundays in the kitchen. We teach them about how to their children,
Mm.
how their relationships,
Yeah.
dating. We cover everything because I believe to truly overcome grief, you have to have all parts of your life in good order.
Yeah.
Your job, your finances, everything has to be working right, or you're constantly going to be pulled back and blaming the grief on that problem.
Yeah.
So then I created a um, what the heck what did I create? Uh, a podcast.
Mhm.
Sorry for the interruption.
So.
I created a podcast, and I get tremendous guests,
Mm.
authors, subject matter experts, and widowers.
Yeah.
The followers of the podcast are from 44 countries
Mhm.
that we reach. And we just released our 39th episode or 38th episode. I'm recording 39 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Uh, so I encourage people to go to the website, go to the Facebook page, including women, because we still have the first
Yeah.
Facebook page, and then the men. So
Yeah.
shall I give you the addresses, the email
We
links?
will put the link in the comments below. The link to your book, the link to your website, the link to we put the links in the comments after the interview.
Very, very, very good.
Yeah.
Well, that's my story, except for I did find love again 3 years later, and I was able to remarry,
Yeah.
and I'm living proof
Mm.
that you can recover, that you can find joy in your life again, and you can't do it like most men try to do it. They
Mm.
toughen up and they resist anybody helping them because it's a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, men send their helpers away and then they wonder why they're lonely.
Yeah.
The number one complaint that I hear from my 2,100 men is they're lonely.
Mm.
And then they make all too often
Mm.
poor judgment. They marry the first girl that they date,
Yeah.
and half of them end in divorce.
Mm.
Too often.
Yeah.
They should slow it down. And if she loves you, she'll wait for you.
Mm.
And vice versa. You
Yeah.
shouldn't push her to make a decision on remarriage, because when you lose your wife or husband,
Mm.
you lose. It doesn't cost you anything other than their income, right?
Mm.
If you marry too soon and you're not compatible, then the next one's going to be a divorce that's going to cost you plenty.
Yeah.
And neither the spouse nor either spouse can afford that.
Yeah.
So I just encourage them to take it slow.
Yeah. I agree. And with that pushing away help, I think women do the exact same thing, like I have worked with many women in grief who were not ready to allow help in. It is really tricky because most people come from a space of wanting to give advice, wanting to help, but from the wrong space because they haven't experienced it. So that's why a lot of people push help away because they don't know how to allow it in. And often people coming in don't know how to really help. I think the best help is to sit and listen, to hold space, and not many people do that.
Also, us survivors need to remember we're not the only ones who are suffering grief.
Mm.
Your wife or your husband had friends, had
Yeah.
colleagues, had neighbors, had family.
Yeah.
They're grieving too.
Mm.
So if you allow them, their families or their other friends, if you allow them to help you with your grief, you're actually allowing them to grieve.
Mm.
And it's therapeutic for anybody who's grieving to get off the couch
Yeah.
and be active.
Mm.
I tell my men that all the time. Turn the lights on, turn the music up, and get off the sofa or the recliner.
Yeah.
And some of them never do.
Mm.
They never do, and it's sad. But I believe it's about 65% of the marriages end in fail on the second pass.
Mm.
Also, there's the health issues that men face
Yeah.
because when it's their wives that sends them to the doctors.
Mm.
Men don't go to the doctors on their own. It's the wife that sends them. And then when she's not there, he doesn't take care of himself. And then he's got a small problem, maybe back when he was serving as a caregiver.
Yeah.
And he ignored it because after all, she's dying. I only have an ache and pain on my side.
Mm.
Well, because he didn't take care of it, now it's worse. And
Mm.
maybe now it's fatal
Yeah.
because over 60% of men have a life-threatening illness within the first 12 months after they lost their wife.
Yeah. Wow.
That's staggering.
I think it's also that's twofold. There's, as you said, the wife not sending them anymore, and there's also I think that often unresolved emotions, unaddressed emotions can turn into physical illness when people don't take care of it. So tell us a little bit more about how is the interaction in your group? Are people very engaged in your group? Are they talking to each other? Is that encouraged in your group?
Well, thank you for asking that question. That's a good one.
Mm.
The best part of my group is that it's designed to have men ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
of each other. That's the absolute best feature. Now,
Yeah.
I put all sorts of articles up and I do my podcast and stuff. But the men asking questions of each other, and we have rules.
Yeah.
No, don't have any judgment of another person's action.
Yeah.
Be supportive. Behave like gentlemen. If they get unruly, I kick them out.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I'll get somebody who will say, like, I was in the Navy for 12 years. What do you expect? Well, I was in the Army, so I don't need to do that. There's a place for everything.
Yeah.
So I expect them to be gentlemen. And it's interesting. The men are of all ages. I have men who are widowed in their 20s.
Yeah.
I have men who have children to raise. In one podcast, I think it's number 23, I interviewed 4 men, one from Australia, Sydney, one from England, one from Scotland, and one from India. And the man from India was a 33-year-old eye surgeon. His wife was a doctor as well, and she was 32. And when she died, she was 6 months pregnant. So he lost his firstborn and his wife on the same day.
Yeah.
So we have men of all ages. And it's interesting that as much as they give advice to each other, they never ask, how old are you? Like if I'm asking a question and I'm 40 years old, let's say, and somebody gives me advice, it might influence how I receive that advice if I know how old the advisor is.
Yeah.
If he's 80, he's been around the block a few times. If he's 32, he might not be that good. They never ask.
Yeah.
Another thing that they never ask or can't answer is a question that I come up with. And I ask them, what do you want in a wife? I have yet to get an answer. Nobody has ever answered that question.
What do you want in a what, sorry?
What in a woman,
In a woman.
if a new lady in your life, what do you want from her? Do you want a travel partner? You want a cook? You want a caretaker, a nurse, a lover? What is your fantasy? What do you want from her? No one has ever answered that question because they don't know what they want. And that's part of the problem.
Yeah. Tell us about your new wife. How did you meet Maria?
eHarmony. And that's another good question because of the answer I'm about to give you. My wife is a PhD engineer. And she at one time worked with the man who designed the science built into eHarmony.
No way.
So when she was ready to go to eHarmony, she called him and she said, is the science legitimate or is it bogus? And he assured her it's legitimate. If you're honest with the questionnaire and the other party is honest, you will have very good matches. And so I met her through there. She's from Cuba. And she's just got hired as a director of engineering for a Puerto Rican university.
Wow.
Yeah, so she's a little power pack. She's a power pack. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
I tease her. I say, you drive me crazy, and I love it.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that story. I love stories anyway, but that's particularly beautiful. I also would love if you could tell our listeners here about the story of the Niagara Falls. That really, I just couldn't believe when you told me that story when you were, how old, 12 years? When you almost
What?
went over the Niagara Falls.
Oh, Niagara Falls?
Yes.
You want me to tell that story?
Yes, please.
Uh, I was 12 years old. I was with my friend, Ronnie Close. We rented a canoe and we took it down a canal about 4 or 5 miles. And I'm only 12 years old.
Mhm.
And we reached the Niagara River and we made a right-hand turn, and the Niagara River really flows.
Mhm.
And it's the only river in North America that flows north. Every other river flows south.
Wow.
It flows north, and we went for the ride of our life.
I can
And we
imagine.
had no idea where we were.
Oh,
No.
goodness.
And all of a sudden, this big, we turned around in the river, almost capsized in the process.
Yeah,
We turned around the river and we're losing ground. We're going backwards.
of course.
And this big, powerful boat came out that's there for stupid kids like me and rescued us and pulled us upriver back into that canal. And I never did tell my parents
Yeah.
because I would have paid a dear price.
Mhm. Oh, my
But
God.
yeah, I was 15 minutes away from going over.
Wow. What a story. I can't believe this. This is incredible. Oh, Herb, what is it that you would like to leave our male audience with here today? Because in my group, as you know, most people are women, but we do have a very slightly growing male audience. And, I really encourage all of them to join your movement as well. And what would you like to leave our audience with? Or let me put it that way. What would you like to leave my audience with as the female audience from a male perspective? What would you want them to know about what you do, about the background of a widower, so to say? What makes
What
you
a
so different to
what a
us?
widower goes through. Okay, they don't handle grief well,
Mm,
most of them. Even those that you think are handling it well,
mm,
frequently are not.
mm,
I can point to men in my group right now who are very highly educated. When I first met them, they had their vision straight, and then later on, 6 months later, 12 months later, they're a wreck. One man I'm thinking of, he moved into a high-rise condo over a beautiful city, and he sold it in 6 months because he realized it wasn't for him. It was
mm,
an impulse buy.
yeah.
Widowers are impulsive,
Mm,
and if the men that you're perhaps being pursued by are widowers,
mm,
make sure that they've dated other ladies.
yeah.
Don't be the scapegoat, because men sometimes, I hate to say this, can be shallow,
Mm,
and you take it slow with them. Make sure that their feet are truly anchored on the ground,
mm,
and make sure that their intentions are honorable. Uh, and also, I would recommend to the ladies, as well as the men, that everybody take a look at prenuptial agreements.
mm,
Now, that protects both parties because we're not 18 anymore
mm,
and we have histories. And
yeah.
part of our histories may not be all that pretty.
Yeah.
And we need to learn about each other. And you can't learn about each other in a 90-day romance.
Mm,
You have to wait for certain events to take place,
yeah.
uh, holidays, family gatherings. You, the person who's asking you out, they may have a brother who's coming out of a federal penitentiary soon and
Mm,
needs a place to stay and wants to move in. You don't know what you don't know.
mm,
I mean, that's the essence. You don't know what you don't know. Now,
Yeah.
getting back to the prenuptial agreement, if you have children, you need to provide for them.
Yeah.
And if he has children, he needs to provide for them. And that's only fair. I mean, and I think that's right. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't provide for each other, but you make provisions, because there are occasions where there's predators. Now, I had one man who's in my book. I outline his story in my book. He was a stockbroker, so he understands money. And he was pursued by a lady who won his heart in no time. He married her. She spent $1.2 million in 2 years. Now, and there's predator men out there. You know, so you have to be really careful, because people lie. People put up false fronts. People sometimes aren't as genuine as you think. And time is the best test of that.
Yeah. I love that you say that time is the best test, because I think that it's really something that is probably the best dating advice. I didn't even expect dating advice when I said tell us the widower's perspective, but I love that you shared that. It is really important to know and to hear for a lot of people. So I love what you do. I really do. We will be sharing all of your links in the comments below so people can get in touch with you. We will share your website, your book, your group, where people can find you. I really love that you took the time to share your story. And I love that you created something for the widowers out there. So I will make sure to have you in our resource corner as well, so people can find you there and get in touch with you. So our groups will be sort of interlinked. And thank you so much for being here. Are there any final words that you would share with us before we go, Herb?
Thank you very much. I want to wish you the very best and congratulate you on your successes.
Thank you.
I would like to be able to do more with you in the future. If I can make my services available, I will tell your ladies that my Facebook page, on it, I put a lot of articles, the one that's open for the public that the ladies can see. There's a lot of content there for them. And also the website, I have over 400 articles written by mostly subject matter experts or widowers. And it's from a man's perspective. So if you want to learn about what men are thinking, what they're all about, go to the website, and right on the front page, you'll see different categories of subjects. And you can say like dating, and they'll show you all the articles about dating or grieving or relationships or whatever you want. It's a powerful website.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I will make sure we share the link. And Herb, thank you so much for being here today. I really, really appreciate it. You have a beautiful evening. Everybody, thank you so much for watching, for being here. This is Herb and Marie signing off. Bye for now.
Bye now.
Thank you.